Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Bottom left hand corner we have oGs.Ensnare starting as the blue terran. Upper right hand corner we have Incontrol starting as the red protoss. This is on Tal'Darim Altar. It is a slightly modified map because you have mineral fields that are half resources. This is the stereotypical third base on this match. And what really makes it entertaining as a result is you can go up to 3 bases, play a long macro game, but you can't sit on 3 bases. Because as soon as you get to that stage, you're running somewhat low on resources. So basically what it guarantees is almost huge army on army engagements of 150 supply or more. Although before I speak too quickly, it is possible to pull off cheese, to drop, do some other action to really slow your opponent down, or maybe even win the match. Pylon inside Incontrol's base does not look like he's going for any sort of crazy proxy build or anything along those lines. And again, just so you can get a good look, you have the reeds right there, creating some darkness, and there is a wide ramp to that corner, but again, usually to that stage, a little bit easier to defend, and it is somewhat small on the interior, so somewhat easy to defend this natural expansion. It comes down to this choke sentries, very vital on this map early. Barracks up for oGs.Ensnare to the north of his base. Game 2 taking a quick and easy victory off Incontrol. I'm not sure what Incontrol is really up to. Looks like Incontrol starting scouting the top left-hand base first and is going to move down. Ensnare opting for a refinery first this match rather than just going straight one racks command center with no gas early. Let's see how that affects his build. Maybe he can go for earlier tech. Maybe get some action. I think the air game is very important on this map for both players just because it is large. I feel like you need a lot of that mobility, you need a lot of scouting. As a result, looks like that probe entering the base, it is going to see that single gas. That's the information it's looking for, as well as the orbital command upgrade. It is free to exit, but a Marine about halfway finished. Never mind. No, the probe not even going to try to exit. It looks like it's just going to circle back around, wants to absolutely ensure that there's not a second gas being taken here. Unfortunately, it's going to forfeit its life to do so, most likely. We'll see. Maybe it can sneak out if it can catch that Marine out of position. Looks like at SCV, taking basically the reverse scouting pattern, so going to come across Incontrol's base in equivalent time. Not that it mattered what direction he went. In the meantime, Gateway up, producing a Zealot, a Cybernetics core, also in production. Only a single assimilator at this stage. There's a Marine, and I unfortunately missed the death of that probe, but it was too brutal to show anyway. Looks like we have concussive shells upgrading and a Marauder to start, which at the very least leads me to believe that we are going to see no second gas and probably a fast expansion build, because concussive shells very, very effective for early game defenses against protoss, particularly those stalker pushes. You can slow them down in open field and push back. On top of that, you can limit information with it. You can go pick some of those units out in open field. Second gateway now for Incontrol. He's actually sending an additional probe to perhaps get a bit of information. I think this is the real strength of this early concussive shells upgrade, is that you don't have these probes sneaking by. And wow, nice blockade there by Ensnare. But in the meantime, it looks like I see the little wreckage of an SCV. Zealot has 1 kill to tack, which means that SCV did not survive either. 3 gateway. Perhaps into expand for Incontrol. He is starting to get those sentries out to build their energy, but Marauders already out in the field, and a Reaper to follow up. Very interesting. And this could be a response to losing that early scout. Ensnare building a command center, he has that Reaper in production. The one thing with Reapers is, even if you do not get a lot of kills and a lot of distraction, you know you're at least going to be able to get up in your opponent's base and get a view of something. Now 2 Marauders, a single Marine, and a SCV moving out in the field, stim pack upgrading as well. That probe able to just inch by it. I think it did in fact scout it. But the other problem with this opening though is the fact that when you field these troops at cross positions on a large map like this, it becomes very difficult to field anything. Incontrol actually not sending any troops out to try to catch any of this, very wisely so, and he'll be a-okay with these sentries, with the Stalker, with this Zealot. It looks like Ensnare realizes this. He's going to back off, building a preventative bunker just in case, and he wants to get a spot, specifically this natural expansion, moving up, sees no natural, and is now backing off. I think another probe just got annihilated on the front door. In fact, I'm going to hop back. I actually have the little back feature. Go back 15 seconds. So it looks like it's actually an SCV trying to sneak in. Yeah, getting absolutely annihilated there. But the Reaper are going to be able to sneak in. It's going to hide underneath that backside brush. Definitely sees there's no natural expansion, but he still doesn't have a good idea of what else is coming. And Ensnare really doesn't mind, though, because upon seeing a lack of natural expansion, he's already got 1 bunker up, a couple troops to support, and feels like he's in a-okay position. But wow, Stalkers morphing in off a pylon to the south of oGs.Ensnare's base. There are 3 barracks to produce troops, but might need a second a second bunker to defend against this. That Marine getting crushed in open field. A lot of these troops completely out of position. This very sneaky Reaper, you can just see him through the brush there. Perhaps poising, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Feels like the opportunity is now, moving up while Incontrol's troops are away, and I believe these warp gates should be on cooldown here, so going to be able to run up, get a lot of probe kills, also scout what's incoming. Second bunker in production for oGs.Ensnare. It's going to be close, and Incontrol staging outside. Before the second bunker's up, he is on the field. Force field here and there to block that SCV from repairing the bunker. Also going to be able to kill an additional Marauder, but that second bunker now up, oGs.Ensnare safe. And in the meantime, I believe, yeah, there's a lot of disruption of economy. They're bringing up the pure mineral count tab between having that natural expansion up very, very early and Incontrol losing those probes. You can see the mineral fight is well in oGs.Ensnare's favor. A third bunker now for Ensnare, which is very intelligent, actually, realizing the economic damage he's done, additionally realizing Incontrol already economically behind between the fast expansion as well as those the medevacs, as well as the mules. That's what they're called. They have an M to start. That counts, right? He's actually going to leave SCVs to the front just in case. Worried about Incontrol, going for a suicide all-in to follow this up. Looks like Incontrol, though, is going to sit back and go for a natural expansion instead. There are 2 tech labs, probably going to be a little bit Marauder heavy in the mid-game. We'll see if he actually tacks on some reactors to follow this up. Still no additional gas, but we do have an engineering bay to work on upgrades for oGs.Ensnare. And at this stage, Incontrol's in a difficult situation. He's economically behind. He is getting a robotics facility up. He's economically behind, however. He can take a quick third, but he's going to have to deal with oGs.Ensnare, who looks like he's taking a third as well, taking out that pylon. I assume he's going to take out the destructible rock. Assuming Incontrol can sit back and get that troop count up, Ensnare's going to have a sizable army that Incontrol's going to need to match. Fortunately for him, though, you do have this ramp, and sentries can easily force field that ramp multiple times. So as long as he keeps the energy high on these sentries, he can keep a very long defense with a much smaller attack force, particularly if it's ground-based. Because oGs.Ensnare starting to move up in the field, actually wants to get aggressive, but if this army gets split, it could melt very, very quickly, and it could be very, very detrimental to him. It might even cost him the game. In the meantime, still leaving the 2 bunkers up, getting a missile turret just in case of Dark Templar, playing this very carefully, but he does have that third command center, and wow, 3 barracks with tech lab as well as a reactor in production. Comsatting the front, let's see if he approaches this. Sees the sentries. 1 force field is going to catch a handful of troops, and you can see backing off, going to be able to pin several of these forces and just kill a couple troops without taking too much damage. Incontrol continuing to warp the sentries in just preventatively. Ensnare realizing the poor choice of engagement, gonna back off, doesn't want to lose any additional troops. He has map control. At the very least, what he's forcing Incontrol to do is produce more sentries to defend his front door. Looks like that robo up, as well as the robotics bay. Incontrol actually moving down a little bit in this field, and he can't get caught in open field. This would be extremely dangerous if he ended up going against basically the full force, but he had an observer in midfield, saw that army backed off, so feels free to take over that Xel'Naga watchtower and maybe keep oGs.Ensnare off balance. Because yes, Incontrol has 2 bases, but it is possible that he just added a ton of gateways behind this, and he's going for another all-in attack. It looks like, however, he's going to take down his destructible rock and take a 3rd base. Unfortunately, economically, still behind, as you can see the supply count very much in oGs.Ensnare's favor. Orbital command has already been upgraded, floating out, engineering bay rocking the upgrades currently, and additional barracks being fielded for oGs.Ensnare, several, wow, and tech labs on a lot of them. So a ton of Marauders out in the field for oGs.Ensnare. And I actually like this when it's a midfield engagement. If he's engaging anywhere towards the north, it could be a little bit more difficult, but when you're talking about large open field, the Marauders are not pinned back. They actually can get that full spread, maybe get a positional attack on that Colossi, and if they can take those Colossi down early, it's going to be very difficult for Incontrol to win any engagement. Particularly when Incontrol is presumably way behind on any engagement just because of raw unit counts. Looks like we have Thermal Lance being upgraded. It is just finishing. And as well, We have some forges being produced from Incontrol in the back corner too, to try to at least stay in that upgrade fight. It looks like he will be perpetually behind at this stage though. Armory now in production to get those level 2 weapons. Starport also in production, but it looks like it's hugging that factory, waiting for that factory to perhaps place a reactor. So, and this I feel like is a mistake for oGs.Ensnare. It is, you always, when you're infantry heavy, you always want to have medevacs to support, especially with Stimpak and other factors. But on this map in particular, when you have these ramps and these small contours that can completely cut off an army with sentries and force fields, you need that air mobility to pin forces back, to do huge elevator drops. Looks like that Marine going to be able to, wow, just really getting out of there. Difference between, I guess that's the difference between sprinting and jogging Marines. It's just drugs. That's it. Wow. A ton of Marauders, a big amount of upgraded Marines. You have combat shield and everything. Starting to stage to the middle of this map, they have the Xel'Naga Watchtower. It looks like taking control of both sides of it. Incontrol does have some probes on the opposite Xel'Naga Watchtower, so he has some degree of vision. But oGs.Ensnare has a ton of vision in this field. You can just look at all the blue on that side of the map and just look at all the clear space. Incontrol starting to move forward. He needs to play a little bit more aggressively with his army, just in case. And he's actually opening up to take a 4th. Wow, his 3rd not up. He wants to try to take a quick economic lead. And this is oGs.Ensnare's time to strike. If he moves up, catches this army in open field with, actually, never mind. He doesn't want to engage it right this second. 3 Colossi out already. A lot of Stalkers, a lot of sentries. But keep in mind, with the upgrades, without the medevac support, it still could be a close fight depending on where the engagement is. Ghost Academy now in production, as well as 2 Stargates for Incontrol. Pushing tech, wants to get Phoenixes out to deal with potential Vikings. Unfortunately, he's not going to be facing any Vikings at all. Perhaps, though, he can try to peel out some of the Marauder count with just liftoffs, and it looks like oGs.Ensnare continuing economic dominance. He's going to take another Destructible Rock here at the 6 o'clock location, build another command center, and just take a death grip on the economic lead. I'm not sure that Incontrol can catch up. Currently, a huge amount of supply behind. Single Marine suicidally diving forward for the Terran Armada. Wants to check everything out he possibly can. Got a good look at the Colossi force. Now, Phoenix is out in the field. There are just a handful of medevacs, and that will, the Phoenixes actually will be very effective against them. We have a drop to the north. Let's see if they're going to be able to execute here. There are pylons to warp some units in defense, but Incontrol needs to be very, very careful as to where he stages these troops. More pylons warping, and they are going to see the medevac, and again, yeah, dropping. Nice evacuation from Incontrol, only losing a single probe, and otherwise might lose a pylon, but he should be happy to lose that at this stage. Ensnare at 200 at this stage. Quickly going to drop, going to lose medevacs actually, but also going to attack the low ground with a bit of scouting. It looks like I missed a drop here, a little bit of a burn mark, so dual drops here in the corner. Zealots cleaning that up very quickly, and again, very well defended by Incontrol. Didn't lose a lot of troops, killed both medevacs, and those were the only, well, I take it back. Not a lot of medevacs, that's the only medevac to Ensnare's name. Also getting some Vikings out to perhaps catch those Colossi, but that is a lot of Colossi. 5 Colossi, no medevac support for oGs.Ensnare, and even if there was, wow, a bunch of Phoenixes out in the field. And this is a very Marauder-heavy army. So again, just lift could be very crucial, and oGs.Ensnare, if he's going to engage successfully with this composition, needs to have that army a bit more spread out. He does not want to engage Incontrol heads up with this many Colossi. In the meantime, Incontrol just sitting back, he's macroed up, he's actually caught up in flat supply count. He's now taking his 12 o'clock base. oGs.Ensnare was distance mining here at the 6 o'clock. Very odd behavior. More Vikings now in production. This confuses me a bit. Still deciding to not mine. I guess he doesn't really need the resources at this stage and doesn't really want to bother with lifting off. Perhaps worried about a flank attack and wanted to have it in some position. He does have a Marine stage in there. But once again, oGs.Ensnare moving up. He's got 5 Vikings. He's got, once again, pinning back that assimilator. But Phoenix is diving forward, and again, without that Marine support and with him kind of in that center bulk, having trouble dealing with that Phoenix attack force. Looks like he's going to be pinned back. Unfortunately, this 12 o'clock base completely exposed. That is going to get taken out. Indefinitely, most definitely. Single Marauder moving up just as Incontrol's placing a bunch of gateways, and that is unfortunate. He's going to need to cancel all of this. Or he could just stage his army forward, and maybe if he can pin back that army. He is at 200. in a nice situation here. That single Marauder in control, completely engaging to the north. It looks like Ensnare is moving up as well. Saw that army, backed off a little bit, and let's see if he tries to end around. You can see he's just trying to find an engagement point. I think his best bet, though, is to play the long economic game. Just keep in control, pin to this corner, force him to engage in open field, and don't attack him. Heads up like this! Phoenix is engaging the Vikings! Oh my goodness, Colossi doing all sorts of damage. Beautiful force fields to the south to pin back a large portion of this army. The Colossi completely untouched during the entirety of that attack in control. Now charging forward. These troops have no medevac to support with this stim pack, so they are going to be weak when they get back to home base. And on top of that, they have several Colossi pinning them down. In control dropping 70 supply of Ensnare almost in an instant and continuing to put on the pressure. He still is near max, so he can afford to press this up. Looks like Ensnare has taken the 6 o'clock base, but he's most certainly going to lose that, if not everything here at this stage. Repositioning to the middle. There was an EMP. It looks like it only caught a single Stalker, though. Just to get a good visual confirmation. Second EMP catches most of the Phoenixes as well as several Stalkers. Then in huge engagement here in the middle, the bunker's quickly taken out. Looks like the Phoenixes completely distracting the Vikings. The Vikings not on top of the Colossi where they need to be. And it looks like they're actually going to back out of the battle. The entire front door breached. oGs.Ensnare has no army. And it looks like In Control has in fact achieved victory over the Code S Korean. Colossi running rampant inside of his base. More troops staging forward, moving across the map almost leisurely, while the complete production lines of oGs.Ensnare being devastated, raked over by gigantic laser beams and being staged. oGs.Ensnare, you can tell the shock. He still has not GG'd. Perhaps completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. He was ahead economically for the large portion of this map, but one misengagement and he has been taken out by EG In Control. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, from NASL Division 2 play, check them out at NASL.tv. Gonna have some more of these up for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Hope you guys enjoyed it.